Video unavailable. The problem. Hmm. Yeah. Mhm. Yes. Hmm. Okay, Hare Krishna. So this is our third week of the online ISKCON Disciples course sessions. So we will be continuing. Today we will be starting the about unit 2 of the manual. It's unit 2, establishing the relationship with Guru. The sections here, lessons 5, lesson 6, and lesson 7. We have lesson 5, Guru Padashraya, means taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Guru. Lesson 6, selection of Guru. Lesson 7, initiation vows. Srila Prabhupada has a unique relationship with every ISKCON devotee. As the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, and the preeminent teacher and ultimate authority within our society, Srila Prabhupada has a unique relationship with every ISKCON devotee. So Srila Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. Um, Founder, which we discussed previous week. The founder means because he established he established ISKCON. He established it as um, a corporation, in that sense. He established the basic rules and regulations and standards and purposes of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he's the Acharya because he is teaching by example how to practice Krishna consciousness. He's not like a teacher. Someone might, for example, be university teacher, and they may be teaching some subject, but they may or may not be living according to that teaching with their teaching. They may believe one thing, but they're teaching something else. But the Acharya teaches by personal example. So this section is called Guidelines for Prabhupada Shraya, Prabhupada Shraya means taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada. So we should, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness already, we should instruct new members to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. ISKCON devotees shall instruct new members to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and to receive guidance, training, and assistance from those who are instructing them in Krishna consciousness. ISKCON members shall choose when and from whom they wish to request initiation. They must focus their attention on Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya and as their preeminent Shiksha Guru. So, some good important points here. First of all, those who are already practicing Krishna consciousness, already members of ISKCON, when someone new comes, first thing is to try to engage them and teach them how to become take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. It usually says you take shelter of your guru, but in ISKCON, we first encourage everyone to develop their relationship with Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya. You cannot, since Srila Prabhupada is not physically present now, so it's not possible to be initiated by him now, but still he is our founder Acharya, and he's the he says preeminent Shiksha Guru. Shiksha Guru means the instructing spiritual master. So anything that we who are practicing Krishna consciousness, anything that we as those who are initiating gurus in ISKCON or Shiksha Gurus in ISKCON are teaching about Krishna consciousness, that knowledge has come from Srila Prabhupada, from his books, from his letters, from his lectures, from his personal example, like that. So when someone takes up the path of Krishna consciousness, we need to encourage them to first take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. And that will be discussed later on. And then part of that taking shelter says, chant at least the first of Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras. After chanting the pranam mantra of their Diksha Guru, all grand disciples and future generations should chant at least the first of Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras, while offering obeisances as a means of respecting the founder Acharya. So even when one in the future may have their own guru, who would be a disciple, maybe a disciple of a disciple, or even future further down, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada's disciple, or a grand disciple of Srila Prabhupada's disciple, and so on. Whoever it may be, in ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada's position is always the same. He's the founder Acharya. So we want everyone to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada in addition to one's own guru. So part of that, helping one to take shelter of and showing respect for Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya, part of that method is by chanting what's called the pranam mantra. So when we are chanting the pranam mantras for Srila Prabhupada, means we call it obeisances, we call it. And it's like Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarani. This is the pranam mantra for Srila Prabhupada. And so those who are coming, who are not disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but are joining now or join in the future, should at least, and before they have guru, should chant Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras. And after they have guru, and who also have their own similar pranam mantra, then after they have guru, then they should also chant at least the first of the two prayers that we chant for Srila Prabhupada. That should continue along with the pranam mantras that they are chanting for their own guru. So, Shiksha Guru, this part of this section is on Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Guru Padashraya, and Prabhupadashraya. So Shiksha Guru, not speaking something against the teachings of the Diksha Guru. Sometimes the Diksha Guru is not always present. Therefore, one can take learning from an advanced devotee. That is called Shiksha Guru. Shiksha Guru does not mean he is speaking something against the teachings of the Diksha Guru. Then he is not a Shiksha Guru, he is a rascal. So that's the principle here. It's not that someone who joins the movement and may or may not be very knowledgeable about who to take instruction from, if they are accepting someone as Shiksha Guru or a spiritual guide to understand this philosophy, they must be very careful to not teach different principles than that of their Diksha Guru. If they've been initiated, and Diksha Guru, for example, when we get initiated, Diksha Guru says, well, many things, but certain principles, of course, chant the 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra on your beads. This was a promise we make when we get initiated, and follow these four regulative principles: no eating meat, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. So we make those promises. So say, for example, if Shiksha Guru, someone who's giving some guidance while the Diksha Guru is not maybe readily available, if someone is acting in that capacity, is being entrusted to act in that capacity, then if they say, oh, well, I'm your Shiksha Guru is as good as Diksha Guru, which is actually in principle is true. So therefore, I'm telling you, you don't have to chant 16 rounds. You can chant only 8 rounds, because I'm also your guru, and I'm making that adjustment. No, you cannot do that. The Shiksha Guru has to teach the same principles, the same teachings as the Diksha Guru. And of course, the Diksha Guru, as we'll find later on, must be teaching the same thing as ultimately as what Srila Prabhupada taught. For ISKCON, we have to follow what Srila Prabhupada taught. So, and if someone claims to be Shiksha Guru and is not teaching the same thing as the previous acharyas, starting with Srila Prabhupada, if he's not, then he is, as Srila Prabhupada says, rascal, because he's just simply cheating the disciple. So going on, a devotee is delivered through a combination of various manifestations of his mercy. As such, a devotee is ultimately delivered by Sri Krishna acting through a combination of various manifestations of his mercy. These include, but are not limited to, the Chaitya Guru, Srila Prabhupada, the Guru Parampara, one's Diksha Guru, other Shiksha Gurus, the holy name, Shastra, and the 9 processes of devotional service. So when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, Krishna's mercy comes in many forms, many forms. Their mercy to become Krishna conscious comes in many forms. So here it mentions, let's go through them. Chaitya Guru. Chaitya Guru means the Lord in the heart, means the super soul. Krishna, one of his manifestations, is the Lord in the heart. So every living entity, not just human beings, but every living entity, Krishna appears in what's called the Paramatma, or the super soul, in the heart. He's actually in the area of the physical heart, transcendental to the body that he's in, but he's in the middle of that. He's in that area of the heart, and he gives us intelligence. Our intelligence actually doesn't come from our brain. Our intelligence comes from the Lord in the heart. So we receive guidance through the Chaitya Guru, the Paramatma in the heart. We have guidance from Srila Prabhupada, whose books and letters and lectures and example this whole movement is based on. We have shelter and guidance from the Guru Parampara. Guru Parampara means all the spiritual masters since Krishna who have handed this knowledge down from Lord Krishna down to the present day. That's Guru Parampara. So they, just like we, although we don't skip over Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's books ever, but the previous acharyas, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is a very important one. They gave Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote about 100 books on Krishna consciousness. And many of those books, I'd say all of the books, but some of them are all of those books are very important, and some are very, very, very important for us now. Books, Srila Prabhupada specifically mentioned Jaiva Dharma. He mentioned Chaitanya Shikshamrita. They mentioned the Harinam Chintamani, which maybe we'll do a class on one time. It's all about the chanting of the holy names and the 10 offenses and how to avoid those offenses, and so on like that. And other acharyas, they wrote many books. So along with reading Srila Prabhupada's books, which actually have everything we need, but we can also read, and Srila Prabhupada encouraged it, reading the books of the previous acharyas. Not to skip over Srila Prabhupada or his books or his instructions, but along with. Okay, so that's Guru Parampara. Then one has one's own Diksha Guru if he's initiated already. He or she is initiated. Diksha means the initiating Guru. And then other Shiksha Gurus. So you can have only one Diksha Guru. You can only be initiated by one personality, by one devotee, but you can have many Shiksha Gurus. You might find there may be many senior devotees that we get inspiration and shelter of in practicing Krishna consciousness. So that's there are many Shiksha Gurus. And then the holy name, like the Hare Krishna mantra. So there's always the shelter of the holy name. no matter where we're at, no matter what problem we have, if we simply chant the Hare Krishna mantra and concentrate on it, our problems will quickly or gradually become cleared up. A lot of our problems are just due to our improper mentality about the situation. Just like a lot of our problems in the material world are because we identify that I am this material body, rather than that I am spirit soul. A lot of the problems come because we're thinking, we're aspiring for some kind of material enjoyment based on that bodily concept of life. But by chanting Hare Krishna, and also all the other shelters that we're mentioning here, that will help us to become. It will help us to see things as they are. Help us to become Krishna conscious. Help us to make our intelligence, our spiritual intelligence, proper. Okay. And Shastra means the scriptures. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. We have Nectar Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is all Shastra or scripture. This is all perfect knowledge coming from the Supreme Lord. And then the nine processes of devotional service. 9 processes of devotional service as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandam, Sakyam Atmani Vedanam. So we have hearing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna, or hearing the holy name and chanting the holy name. It also applies. Vishnu Smaranam. Vishnu Smaranam means especially if we've heard the Hare Krishna mantra and we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, then remembering Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna, that comes naturally. So and so on through all the 9 processes of devotional service. So we're ultimately delivered or freed from our material desires and help to become fully Krishna conscious by following this process of Krishna consciousness through any or all of these different methods. Okay. Spiritually mature ISKCON managers may be the main Shiksha gurus. Spiritually mature managers may be the main Shiksha gurus for devotees who are not their initiated disciples. And such relationships are to be fully encouraged by the initiating spiritual masters. So this is also very important. So say you have a temple president, or you have someone else in a senior position, maybe managing position, then it's natural that for a lot of the devotees, such leaders are the ones who are guiding or giving shiksha to the devotees, both young, very new devotees and also older ones who may need that guidance. This relationship is encouraged, should be encouraged by the initiating spiritual masters, because initiating spiritual masters generally are not always, they travel in many cases, especially if they're sannyasis, they're traveling all the time. So the initiating spiritual master cannot always be side by side with their initiated disciple. It's not possible. It wasn't possible with Srila Prabhupada. He initiated in his lifetime maybe 5,000 devotees, 5,000 disciples. But Srila Prabhupada hardly stayed in one place more than 2 or 3 days. So of course he himself did write lots of letters. He gave lots of guidance for those who asked him for guidance. He did. It's a fact. But if someone needed some guidance or some encouragement, and Srila Prabhupada was not there at the moment because he was traveling, as he always was traveling and preaching, then it was usually up to the senior devotees, maybe the temple managers, to provide that shelter. And Srila Prabhupada, he wanted that, he encouraged that. And in ISKCON today, the initiating gurus should also encourage the disciples to take shelter of the local senior devotees and managers. Okay. Srila Prabhupada is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for all members of ISKCON. Within these cooperative elements, Srila Prabhupada, as the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for all members of ISKCON. All members of ISKCON for all generations are encouraged to seek shelter of Srila Prabhupada. All members of ISKCON are entitled and encouraged to have a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada through his books, teachings, service, and his ISKCON society. So this is also a very important point. So again, Srila Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. He is the if someone is initiating or Diksha Guru within ISKCON, their ability and potency to perform that service as Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru, it comes by how much they follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. So we all, even if we are the second generation, third generation, fourth generation in the future, 100th generation of devotees, since Srila Prabhupada's being here, physically being here, everyone is encouraged to have their relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Just like when we have our Guru Puja ceremony every day, it's not that only those who are initiated by Srila Prabhupada perform Guru Puja. Everyone, whoever is present, takes part. Whether you're initiated by Srila Prabhupada or by his disciple or by his grand disciple, or you're not initiated at all. But Srila Prabhupada's position is very special and has to be, and we have that. We have that. Sometimes it happens that in ISKCON someone is serving as a guru, a Diksha Guru, and for some reason they can't maintain that position. They lose, they cannot they can't keep following the regulative principles themselves. Sometimes there's a problem like that. And then for the disciple, the tendency will be, oh, my guru's fallen down. What can I do? I have no shelter. But no, you always have shelter because you have shelter you have Srila Prabhupada's shelter because we're following him. He's the founder Acharya, not just a spiritual master, but he's the founder Acharya. We always have shelter of his books. We always have shelter of his instructions. Chant Hare Krishna, follow the principles, engage in teaching Krishna consciousness to others, so on like that. We always have that. If sometimes younger devotees may in the morning bathe and dress Srila Prabhupada. We do this on Srila Prabhupada on the Vyasa Sun. You don't have to necessarily be initiated to do that. If you have a nice attitude towards Srila Prabhupada. So in many ways, you can take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. We all have that personal relationship with him. Okay, going on. lesson 6, qualifications of a bona fide guru. Okay, so there's also so much instruction and encouragement that we need to be have guru. But who is a guru? What is the qualification of a guru? So the Upadeshamrita, verse 1, is one such qualification. Vachavegang manasa krodavegam jiva vegam udaro pashtavegam etan vegam yovisha heta dhira sarvam apimam prativing sashishat. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So, very powerful verse. So, what does that mean? Tolerate the urge to speak. Proper speaking is to speak about Krishna. Proper speaking is to speak about Lord Krishna. So the tendency is, if we get with friends, then everyone wants to talk. You talk about, the politics and whatever topic is you happen to like, but you talk about so many different things just because we have a tendency to talk. But a Krishna conscious person, a pure devotee, his real interest is only talking about subjects which are related to Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna's service. So we don't stop speaking. We don't say, okay, you'll become Krishna conscious by don't speak anything for the rest of your life. Never open your mouth. Don't make any more sounds. Then you'll become Krishna conscious. No. The system is not to stop speaking, but to speak about Krishna. Then the mind's demands. The mind is always demanding so many things. Do this, do that. The Bhagavad Gita says that the purpose of the mind or the function of the mind is accepting and rejecting different things and different activities on the basis of sense gratification. Out in the world, they say, they have this term, if it feels good, do it. If it feels good, do it. That's not necessarily good advice, but it's out there. If it feels good, do it. That means if your mind, that bad philosophy is, okay, if your mind, which is what you're feeling with, if your mind tells you to do any whimsical thing, then it feels good, you just do it. But the pure devotee, the one who's qualified to be guru, he doesn't act on the basis of what just feels good. He acts on the basis of what he should be doing, based on good intelligence, which comes from following the scriptures and following the spiritual master and the parampara. So that's controlling the mind's demands. The actions of anger and the actions of anger. So what happens is, but if we Bhagavad Gita explains that there's a series of actions. So it says, by contemplating the objects of the senses, not just that it comes into the mind, but start contemplating it, thinking about it, meditating on it. How can I get this? By contemplating the objects of the senses, one will develop attachment for the senses, and by such attachment, as soon as one starts developing attachment, then one develops lust, material, which means material attachment, and then when we become attached to something, materially attached to something, then if we lose it or fail to actually get what our mind has become attached to, if we fail to get it, or we have it anyway, and it's somehow is taken away from us, then we become angry. Material anger comes from frustrated sense gratification. So we start desiring some material things. We start desiring some material things, then if we get frustrated by not being able to get it, then we become angry. And if we or if we have something and we lose it, then we become angry. So controlling the anger and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the tongue, the belly, and the genitals are in a line, so a straight line. So if we overeat, if there's too much pressure in the stomach, then it agitates and then the stomach is full, and then the genitals become disturbed, agitated, and then we start, looking for sex and so on. So by controlling the tongue, first by controlling the tongue by not just eating and not just by eating, being vegetarian. There's a lot of vegetarians who may not even believe in God. But if you're a vegetarian and your vegetarian food you offer to Lord Krishna for his pleasure before eating it, then that's controlling the tongue. And if we are careful not to overeat, then we will then the problem with the belly and the genitals is not developed. So this verse here says that if one can tolerate the urge to speak, means he speaks about Krishna, the mind's demands, which means he fixes his mind on Krishna instead of on material enjoyment, the actions of anger, which comes as a result of frustrated material desires, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, which is controlled by eating only prasadam and controlling how much we eat. If one can control all these things, then he is qualified to make disciples all over the world. And of course, that means, although it's not mentioned here, if one can do all that, and he's also gaining knowledge from the higher understanding, from the parampara, and he's able to speak that knowledge strictly, then he's qualified to make disciples. Tad viganartam sadgurum eva vigachet samit pani shrotriyam brahman nishtam. To understand these things properly, one must humbly approach with firewood in hand a spiritual master who is learned in the Vedas and firmly devoted to the absolute truth. So we, on our own, we may think that, hey, I'm very smart. I have an IQ of 160, which is considered to be genius. I'm very smart. I don't need any advice from anyone. I can figure everything out on my own. But no, you can't understand, especially you cannot understand spiritual things on your own without the guidance of a spiritual master. And spiritual master has that knowledge because he's received from his spiritual master, who received from his spiritual master, who received from his spiritual master. And ultimately, the first spiritual masters heard from Krishna directly. So that knowledge that's been heard and passed down properly, the spiritual master is giving that knowledge. So to understand things properly, understand the world properly, understand that I'm not this body, I'm servant of Krishna. What is the goal of the human form of life? How do I engage in devotional service? We don't figure these things out on our own. You can't figure these things out just with your small intelligence. You have to hear it from authority from spiritual master who himself has heard it through the line of succession. And this particular verse mentions one must humbly approach with firewood in hand. In old times, it's not necessarily right now, but in old times, that the boys, the young boys, at the age of about 5 years old, would go off to the Gurukula. They go off to the house of the spiritual master, or the place of the spiritual master, and they would live with him for years, and they would learn how to become very humble. And part of that practice to become humble, and this goes way back, so there was no electricity, there was no modern conveniences that we have now. So you had to collect wood, firewood, for cooking. You had to collect firewood for keeping warm if winter was cold, like that. So disciples would go out, and in a mood of humility, they would go out and they would collect firewood. That's why it says, bring firewood, with firewood in hand. Then you bring that to the spiritual master as a means of service to the spiritual master. Okay? So you must do that if you want to understand the absolute truth. Spiritual master has two main qualifications. There are two main qualifications you look for in a spiritual master. A bona fide guru does not impart some self-stylized, concocted knowledge. His knowledge is standard and received from the Parampara system. He is also firmly fixed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brahma Nishtam. These are his two qualifications. He must have heard the Vedic knowledge through the disciplic succession, and he must be established in service to the Supreme Lord. He does not have to be a very learned scholar, but he must have heard from the proper authority. So he must have 2 points here, very important points. You don't just, it's not that someone who's a guru or someone who tells nice stories, or who's entertaining, or who maybe can sing very nicely, or something like that, or even if they have many followers. These are not qualifications for who is actually a qualified guru. The main qualification, and these may be good, they may be helpful, but the main qualifications are two. The spiritual master, first of all, if he's going to give perfect knowledge, he has to have received that knowledge through the Parampara, which I've mentioned a few times already tonight, but means knowledge coming from Krishna through one guru to another without being changed, and he must receive knowledge like that. And not only must he have that knowledge, but he must be living by that knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada was such an acharya. He didn't just have knowledge about Krishna. He had a lot of knowledge about Krishna, but he only had knowledge about Lord Krishna. It's that he lived that knowledge. Just like we have our book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, very important Vedic knowledge. So we have the book Srimad Bhagavatam, but there's also something called the Person Bhagavatam. Person Bhagavatam means one who lives according to the principles taught in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam teaches one how to become Krishna conscious. The ultimate goal of Srimad Bhagavatam is to teach one to to come to the ultimate goal of life, which is pure love for Lord Krishna. So the spiritual master must have received his knowledge. He's not just making up anything and talking, fancy talking like that. He received his knowledge from Lord Krishna through the line of disciplic succession, and he's living according to the principles of that knowledge. That's why there's a verse, there's the words in Sanskrit, achar and prachar. So achar means you're teaching by example, and prachar means you're preaching that teaching that you're living by. And of course, then that knowledge that you're living by has come from Krishna and the parampara. Personal behavior and preaching. Achar, prachar, namera, karaha, dui, karya, tumi, sarva guru, tumi, jagatera, arya. You simultaneously perform both duties. I think this is about hard. Let me read it. You simultaneously perform both duties in relationship to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, for you are the most advanced devotee in the world. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Sanatana Goswami clearly defines herein the bona fide spiritual master of the world. The qualifications expressed in this connection are that one must act according to the scriptural injunctions and at the same time preach. One who does so is a bona fide spiritual master. So one may be following the instructions, and that's very good. But one who is really a spiritual master is not only following the instructions that came through the disciplic succession, but if he's preaching those instructions that he is following, then he becomes spiritual master. That's the point here. From any ashram, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kaninai, Ye Krishna Tattvaveta, say Guru Haya. Whether one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a Shudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8.128. Another very important point. It's not, and especially this really applies now more than ever before, because in the Western world, pretty much unless one is born in a family of already practicing devotees, we probably have not come from very high class position as far as material position goes. And yet Srila Prabhupada engaged his disciples, encouraged that you come to become Krishna conscious and you give Krishna consciousness to others. So here it says, whether one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a Shudra, whatever he is, he can become spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. So a Brahmana means in the mode of goodness. But a Brahmana is not necessarily a devotee, or doesn't even necessarily know about devotion, devotional service. A Brahmana means he's basically mode of goodness. He has some Vedic understanding, but he may not have the highest understanding. Same thing with a sannyasi or a Shudra. Even a Shudra means lower class people in society. Shudra basically in traditional Varnashram system meant Shudra meant laborer, probably not so intelligent, but definitely not having higher understanding. But even if one is born as a Shudra, if he knows the science or can learn the science of Krishna and live according to that science, then he is qualified to be to be guru. In fact, we have in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the history of a devotee named Vidura. Vidura was born in the mother of Vidura was a low-class person in Vedic society, a Shudra lady. So he was counted as Shudra, and because of that. But Vidura was actually he was actually a very, very advanced soul. As a matter of fact, Vidura was an incarnation, as the Srimad Bhagavatam says, he was an incarnation of Lord Yamaraj, who was the demigod in charge of punishing the sinful people in the world. That's his service. And he's also called Dharmaraj. Yamaraj is also called Dharmaraj because he knows all the religious principles. Otherwise, how can he choose who is to be punished and who is to be rewarded like that? So this Vidura was actually an incarnation of Yamaraj. So he was actually a very, very qualified person, but he was born in a social position that he was considered Shudra. But he knew the science of Krishna. He was very advanced. So and then of course we in the Western world, we are, for the most part, we are born in not good situations. We grow up generally not following even the basic principles of human life, eating meat and so on. The activities that in the West we're generally taught to do from the beginning of our lives. So we're not in good positions, but if we follow the principles under Guru, if we know the science of Krishna, we're living according to that science of Krishna, then we also can become Guru, either Shiksha Guru or sometimes Diksha Guru, to teach others. Every one of you should become the spiritual master. This is Srila Prabhupada speaking. Amara Agyaya Guru Hana Tara Adesh Jari Zeka Tara Kaha Krishna Upadesh. And Lord Chaitanya says that every one of you become the spiritual master. Every one of you. Why one, two? Every one of you. Oh, spiritual master is a very difficult job. No, not difficult job. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Amara Agyaya. Just try to carry out my order. That's all. Then you become spiritual master. So we may think being spiritual master is very difficult, but if we know the science of Krishna, we've heard from Guru, and we're living according to that science, then we can become qualified and also become Guru. First, not everyone becomes Diksha Guru, giving initiation, but anyone who knows the science of Krishna can teach the science of Krishna if they know it. But of course, we must be practicing that science, because if we're teaching and we're not practicing it, then our teaching will have no effect. Just like there's a story, an example of a person who was asked to teach someone, a young man, a child, that you should give up smoking cigarettes. You should stop smoking. So he was asked to teach that, to convince him. And so he said, okay, but I will do this next week. And he came back a week later and he spoke to the child, the teenage child, and he was able to convince him. And then the mother, who had requested him to try to convince her son to change this bad habit, she says, well, thank you very much, but why did you have to wait a week? Says, oh, because I was also smoking cigarettes and I had to give it up before I could convince someone else to give it up. So how is he going to convince someone else to act in a certain way if he's not even following what he's teaching. Even if somebody doesn't know that you're not following, you know, and the potency will not be there. So that's why we say achar and prachar. You teach, but you got to show living. You need to be a living example. So if we are a living example, because we've learned, we've changed our bad habits if we grew up with bad habits, and if we're teaching according to that teachings that we had learned of Krishna consciousness, then on Lord Chaitanya's order, then we become a spiritual master, and we can teach others to become Krishna conscious, and then some of those Shiksha gurus will also become Diksha gurus and give initiations and so on. On my order, that is the crucial point. So how everyone can become a spiritual master? A spiritual master must have sufficient knowledge, so many other qualifications. No, even without any qualifications, one can become spiritual master. How? Now the process is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Amara Agyai, on my order. That is the crucial point. One does not become spiritual master by his own whims. That is not the spiritual master. He must be ordered by superior authority. Then he is a spiritual master. Amara Agyaya. Just like in our case, this is Srila Prabhupada speaking, our superior authority, our spiritual master, he ordered me that you just try to preach this gospel, whatever you have learned from me in English. You teach in English. So we have tried it. That's all. It is not that I am very much qualified. The only qualification is that I have tried to execute the order of my superior authority. That's all. This is the secret of success. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was extremely qualified, but he took the position, took that humble mood that I'm not qualified, and any success I've had is only because I've tried to follow the instructions of my spiritual master. So, and Srila Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada, before the very first meeting with his spiritual master, who became his spiritual master, with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was practically drug into a meeting, a class, a lecture that was being given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was giving that class, and a friend of Srila Prabhupada's friends pulled him in. Just, okay, Srila Prabhupada had his reservations about so-called sadhus who he had many experiences when he was young. His father would invite so many people who were, sadhus, so supposed to be saintly people, but they were many times, most of the time, were not at all. So Srila Prabhupada was thinking, some sadhu, I already know about these sadhus. He was thinking. But anyway, his friend insisted and kept pulling him to come and hear from this particular person. And as soon as him and his friend walked into the room, and they were bowing down, which was proper they come to the guru. He bowed down before they could even sit up and listen to him speak. First thing he said is, "You are intelligent young men. Why don't you preach Krishna consciousness in English preach Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking people?" And Srila Prabhupada was very shocked. They hadn't even hardly seen each other, and already he's asking him to preach Krishna consciousness. But of course, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta understood who Srila Prabhupada was, and he also understood that he knew English. He studied English in India, and he understood. He actually knew what Srila Prabhupada would ultimately do. But the point here is that Srila Prabhupada, he got this order even before initiation, 11 years before initiation, actually, to preach Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking people. So he tried to do it. Srila Prabhupada on his own, while he was still householder, he started his Back to Godhead magazine. We have a very nice Back to Godhead magazine now. And it was more simple then. He would write it, he would edit it, he would publish it, and he would distribute it himself. It's just a few pages, not nice colored pictures and everything, but it was he did it. So that was his attempt to carry out the order of his spiritual master, and then continuing on with that attempt to carry out the orders of his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada ultimately came to where most people were generally English-speaking people. He came to the United States. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had sent some of his other disciples to England previously to try to preach. They were not very successful. But Srila Prabhupada knew how to present Krishna consciousness in such a way that the people could understand, could accept it. He chanted. He was very nice to those who showed interest. And prasadam, lots of prasadam. Srila Prabhupada would cook very nicely, and whoever came, he would serve them prasadam. And at the beginning, Srila Prabhupada he would even wash the pots and clean up after everyone. So somehow some of the early people who became his disciples, they came to think, oh, well, maybe I can help with some of this. But anyway, the point is that Srila Prabhupada was he from his point of view, his success in preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world is simply because his spiritual master gave the order, you do this. And so he carried it out. It wasn't that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta only instructed Srila Prabhupada. He was an open secret. I mean, he told everyone that this is all his disciples. I want you to preach to the people. But Srila Prabhupada took it very seriously. So the spiritual master gives the order, but it's up to the disciple to carry out that order. Tasmad Gurung Prapajeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam Shabde Pare Cha Nishnantang Brahman Upashamashrayam. Therefore, any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of those conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be understood to be bona fide spiritual masters. So it's the same principle. There's many quotes here to support this principle. You hear from the proper source, you live according to it, you teach what you learned, and you teach by example how to practice what you're teaching. And we have just a couple more slides here in our presentation. So in ISKCON, when one wants to become initiated, and initiation is important, there are different steps in the process. Step 1, 1 year preparatory period. Engage favorably in devotional service. Strictly follow the 4 regulative principles. Chant 16 rounds a day. So you want to really go for initiation, chant those 16 rounds a day, every day, and avoid the four sinful activities, which are eating meat, fish and eggs, having illicit sex, using any kind of intoxication, and gambling. Those four. So you avoid those and you chant 16 rounds a day. That's minimum. If you're living in a temple, living in the temple ashram, then you definitely need to attend the full morning program every day. And if you're living outside, then you should still attend such programs, but maybe not in the temple. Maybe you're not living near a temple. So there's attend the morning program at home, and you can have your morning program at home. You can get up in the morning. You can have an altar. If you're practicing Krishna consciousness, you should have an altar where you're going to offer your food to Krishna before you eat it. You can have your morning program. You get up early, do your little artik for Krishna on your altar. You chant. If you get up early enough, you can chant all your rounds, 16 rounds in the morning, looking at a picture of Krishna. And you study the books. Like in the morning, we normally study the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is it's the most wonderful book. Not just one book. It's our Srimad Bhagavatam is volumes about like this, and there are, I think, 18 volumes that thick of the Srimad Bhagavatam that we have. It's a great deal of knowledge, so that you study Srimad Bhagavatam and chant your rounds, follow the principles, do artik for Krishna. You can sing the prayers that we sing. It's called the Shigur Vashtika prayers. There's prayers glorifying the spiritual master. You can do all these things in your home if you're not at the temple. And if you are at the temple and can stay for the morning program, then these same activities will be there. So this is the first step of in preparing to be initiated. You have to be able to do these. Step 2, focus attention on Srila Prabhupada as the preeminent Shiksha Guru. So we mentioned this earlier, that we remember that all the knowledge that we have, all the knowledge that we teach others, it all came from Srila Prabhupada. None of us knew Vedic literatures and had understandings from anywhere else about Krishna consciousness. What we know is what Srila Prabhupada taught us in his books and in his letters. The books are most important. The letters, which were generally personal letters, but there were a lot of instructions were universal, and not all of them are, though, and so on. Chant Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras while offering obeisances. Receive guidance from respective ISKCON spiritual authorities, Shiksha Gurus. So you're in the beginning, you're definitely chanting Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras. Prayers glorifying Srila Prabhupada because he is the founder Acharya and you don't have a guru yet. And you're receiving guidance from, maybe if you're in the temple authority, somebody else who may be a senior devotee, like what we're doing right now. You do like that. And in ISKCON now, this wasn't always like this, but it's a very good move. You complete the ISKCON Disciples course, which is actually what we're doing right here. We're teaching it, and there are a few devotees that are actually taking the course and have to do the homework and the quizzes and exams like that, and to actually complete that course, and that this is very much encouraged. Step 3, after a minimum of 6 months of following the above, one may select an ISKCON authorized Diksha Guru from amongst one's established Shiksha Gurus. Note that 6 months is the minimum period, and one may take as much time as required to make this selection. So there's no rush, there's no force. If you're living in the temple or you're associated with devotees and and 6 months have passed that you've done those first 2 steps, it's not that, okay, 6 months has passed, okay, you must immediately, right now, this minute, figure out who you want to be initiated by. No, it's not like that. There's no force, but minimum is 6 months because that's to give time to develop our relationship with Srila Prabhupada as kind of founder Acharya. Responsibility of candidates to choose Guru by the exercise of their own intelligence, notify the local temple president or relevant authority. So one's own guru who you want to accept is not necessarily someone who you see all the time. There are many gurus, as I mentioned earlier, who are traveling all over the world constantly and preaching Krishna consciousness, but you may have had a little association, you may have known, you may appreciate how they teach, and you can, if you want to be initiated by one who is accepting initiation still, then you should mention your desire to your local temple authority, temple president, or relevant authority. You may have someone else you're taking shelter is not necessarily the temple president. And then you take written examination issued by ISKCON authority. There is a short test examination which requires that shows if you have some actual knowledge, some very basic knowledge of ISKCON and what human life is about and what Krishna consciousness is about. And then receive a formal letter of recommendation from ISKCON authority, receive permission from the selected guru. So after all the pre-qualifications, then your temple president, or maybe if you're with a Namahata group, some other group, someone who's in charge of that would write a letter recommending you, if they feel that you're ready, recommending you for initiation. And the letter is sent to the devotee, the guru who you're aspiring to be initiated by. A spiritual master does not, someone may be initiating spiritual master, they're not required to accept any particular person as a disciple. Seems like most of the time they do accept, but even Srila Prabhupada sometimes told someone, you're not ready yet. Wait a little while and check later. He did that sometimes because he could see this. They really weren't ready, and they were really not going to stay and practice Krishna consciousness, even if he initiated them. So the guru, you need a recommendation letter from the spiritual authority, and then the guru also must accept, must also accept you if for you to be initiated. Okay, and as we mentioned in a previous class, this whole Ritvik idea that you can be initiated by someone who is not currently present on this earth, who's not living. They have an idea, but here this last statement shows that that's not possible, because the spiritual master also has to agree that I will accept so and so. You're saying I want you as my spiritual master. The spiritual master has to also, if he has to also decide and be ready and say, okay, I will accept you as my disciple. And sometimes they'll say, okay, but wait a few years, wait 5 years. Some ISKCON gurus have out lots and lots and lots of disciples. Now they're saying, okay, keep in touch, but wait 5 years. So maybe you don't want to wait 5 years. Maybe you do, like that. So, but it's just up to the choice of the spiritual master. And step 4 comes the actual initiation. After a subsequent minimum of 6 months, this is all these things can be done after 6 months of chanting your rounds, following the principles. So after a subsequent, and that minimum of 6 months, means at least 6 months later, one may accept Vaishnava Diksha. The guru is under no obligation to initiate the candidate. After initiation, one may accept additional Shiksha gurus with the permission of one's Diksha guru. So yes, there's I think it'll come up later, but there's Shiksha gurus, and there's what might be called an official Shiksha guru, who gives you a lot more guidance, and especially to be an official Shiksha guru, your Diksha guru should say it's okay, because the Diksha guru is, because of the Shiksha gurus we read at the beginning of this class, is speaking one thing, and its opposition to what the Diksha guru is saying, then that is a serious problem for the disciple. So that's the last slide here in my presentation. It's 8:30 now. We went a little over time. Do you have any questions? Anyone? There? Another one?
There's like a step for selecting like the Prabhupada, this Saraya. What is
Ashraya.
Yeah,
What does it mean? Ashraya means shelter. So we accept Srila Prabhupada as also as our shelter, because even though Srila Prabhupada is not physically present now, but he is our founder Acharya. So we have shelter Srila Prabhupada. We have shelter. We follow his instructions. We read his books. That's probably the main way right now. You can pray to Srila Prabhupada. You know, he'll guide us. He'll help us. That relationship is there. We can't be initiated by Srila Prabhupada because he's not physically present now. So there are other gurus. But even if we have initiation by other guru, then we all have relationship. We all now, and those who come generations and generations and generations from now, hundreds of years from now, will also have Srila Prabhupada as he's still the founder Acharya. So that shelter is always there. And that's important because sometimes, and I was actually asked to emphasize this a lot. There are different forms of that we're reading about today. We have Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya. We have that shelter there. We have our Diksha Guru, if we want to initiate. We have so many Shiksha Gurus, and all are important. And sometimes we may feel a closer connection to one more than over the other. Sometimes we may feel good, strong connection with Diksha Guru. Sometimes maybe we're not feeling it as much for some reason, but we may feel very good with someone who's acting as Shiksha Guru, who continues guiding us and encouraging us. Sometimes we feel really frustrated with this kind of general. It happens. But Srila Prabhupada, he's always there. So we can always go and take shelter of Srila Prabhupada by reading and concentrating on his books, on his instructions, on his hearing about his own spiritual activities like that. And that way we somehow or other, that shelter is there, that ashraya is there for all of us. So now or in the future, Srila Prabhupada's ashraya, shelter, is there for everyone. And even those who are Diksha Gurus and Shiksha Gurus now have the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, how can we give this? How can I be giving this knowledge? This is all everything we're reading here is quotes from Srila Prabhupada. So I'm just trying to present. So because I'm taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada, I'm sharing this knowledge that we have gotten from Srila Prabhupada in his books, in his lectures, sometimes in letters, like that. That's what ashraya is. Okay? So on the Zoom call, I didn't see anyone else come in. I don't know who else may be watching on the other social media. So I can't really answer questions if there are any, because I can't see who's here. But thank you very much for everyone who has taken part and come into this class tonight. We'll end now. We'll plan for the next class to be next Wednesday night at 7:15. We're doing 7:15 right now because it's Damodarashtika time, and sometimes their devotees are here singing the Damodarashtika prayers at 7 o'clock. So then we'll start. So we'll just have the class at 7:15 until the month is over. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We'll end the class now.